How is that for the sound, Monica? Is that better? Audio not coming? Is it coming now? Is it better? Let's see. Is the audio better? I don't know why it wouldn't come. It says it's okay from here. Oh, got it. Okay. Sorry, my bad. I have been playing with my OBS configuration until the last second, so I missed something. So, well, I guess I'm going to have to do the introduction again. So, hello, my name is Yannick. I'm the French guy from Switzerland for the second time tonight. And this is my second stream on the UbuntuOnAir channel, where I'm going to try and show you how to set up your development environment for PHP and Angular development. Last time, 2 weeks ago, we did the PHP installation. So go back and watch that if you want to see how to set up your PHP environment. And tonight I'm going to finish this environment because we're missing one key point, which is the debugger. We also are going to install Node.js, NPM, and start Angular development. And what I would like to show you tonight, if I have time, is how to bridge Angular and PHP so that you can call PHP from your Angular app. So let's go to the VM. There it is. I need to switch to that. Let me know if the fonts are big enough so that you can read what I type. So what did we have? Let's have a look at what we had last week, and let's see if I didn't miss anything since then. Hello, everybody. Yes, there's a lot of people in the chat, and I haven't said hello to anyone. Monica is there. Kesav is there too. Hello. Welcome to the stream. So did I miss something? I don't think I've missed anything since last time, but I already added a few things. Why am I not using my beloved Visual Studio Code? That is a mystery. I do stuff sometimes and I don't know why, but you know, that's how things go. So yes, so last time we had just the hello PHP, and I just added this loop here. And let's see, I think the way to access that was to go to UbuntuOnAir.lock. And there we have it. We have our hello PHP and our loop here. And I'm missing a break here. So let's add that right now. Let's add a BR, even though that's not really the way we should do that, but that's okay. We have our loop. Everything is working PHP-wise. But now, what if we have a problem? What if we want to inspect if we want to inspect the value of this variable? If we want to? Well, there's already the breakpoint here, and as you've seen, nothing happened. Well, we need to install the Xdebug extension, or yes, it's a PHP extension, and we do that with a simple sudo apt install php-xdebug. My password is test, by the way. I got that from Martin, which is our benevolent leader in the Ubuntu Mate project. And while it's installing, it's done. We are going to have a look at, and I need to get my notes to be sure that I'm not doing anything wrong, in etc php 7.4 fpm and conf.d. In this directory, you will find the initialization files for pretty much all every modules that you install, every extension you install in PHP. The one that interests us is one that is called 20xdebug, and I have already done a few things. When you arrive. Oh, I need to be root. Otherwise, of course, I can't do any modification. That's what the file looks like when you install the package, right? So if you leave it like that, it's not going to be very helpful. It's not going to do anything because by default, this extension is disabled. So we need to tell the extension, xdebug, that it's going to run in debug mode, which is what we really want. We want to be able to step and inspect our variables. Another thing we need to do, there are two ways to use xdebug. One is to send the cookie, I think it's a cookie, whatever you want xdebug to be enabled. I prefer to have it enabled every time. Sometimes it's not really the way you want to do that, depending on libraries you may use. Maybe they're going to be too slow. But let's say that when we start developing, we really want to stop. We don't really want to bother with remembering to start the debugger or not, or wondering why it's not stopping. So we're going to tell xdebug that it needs to start with requests. And we're going to say yes here. And that's all we need to add to this file. So let's save that, and we need to restart PHP 7.4-FPM, which is the FPM, the fast. What is the P for? I don't know. It's the CGI modules for Nginx. So Nginx is calling PHP FPM and handles all the dynamic things. So we're restarting PHP. And now if we have a look at info.php, which really is only, this is this file. It's only one line. It's PHP info. It's the file that you need to have on your development environment if you want to know how PHP is configured. It's also the file you need to remove from your production server. You don't want anyone to see that outside of yourself, your team. And now we can have a look at xdebug. And so we can see here it has xdebug ini, so that's good. The extension is enabled. And here we have the xdebug configuration. And what's going to interest us is see if it took our modifications. So where is the start xdebug.start on start with requests? It's enabled. That's good. Now we need to have a look at two things that are usually the default value are usually suitable. It's xdebug client host, local host, meaning you can't have PHP on one machine and your Visual Studio Code on another machine. But for local development, that's okay. You could change that if you wanted to do some remote debugging. And then the client port is 9003, which is also a suitable default, because when we go to VS Code, let's pretend this does not exist. We are going to want to debug, so we are going to want to start the debugger. So let's go here. That's the run and debug. And now VS Code says, well, you don't have any launch.json file, so create one. Yes. And because, well, it knows that it's some PHP, it has the PHP extension installed, it will create a default launch configuration. Now it's going to create three or four of them. Launch the built-in server and the currently open script, but really the one that we are interested in is this one. So just for clarity, I'm going to remove that so we are sure we're not doing anything wrong. And if we have a look at that, it says listen for xdebug, type PHP, good. Request launch, right, and port 9003. You could change the host name here if you wanted to, but as we configured PHP, it's only going to connect to local host anyway. So with this file created for us by VS Code, we now have this option here. And here we have listen for Xdebug, right? So we can either press this green triangle, or we can also start debugging by pressing F5, which is my preferred way to do things. So now let's go back to index. This is our file, very, very advanced file. I agree. And you add and remove breakpoints by clicking on next to the line number on this column. Every red dot is a breakpoint, and you click again on it, and it removes the breakpoint. It's a stream during a time you can attend. Yay! Well, welcome. I am fine, thank you. I'm delighted to be on the Ubuntu On Air channel once again, trying to show a few things. Maybe that's going to be interesting for a few people. Right, so you set and remove breakpoints by clicking in this column, but now we need to start the app. So let's press F5 as we saw previously. So I'm going to press F5 here. And apart from this floating widget here, nothing really changed. But now if we go here on our app, I press F5 in the beloved Firefox, and boom, it has now stopped inside Visual Studio where we did set the breakpoint. And now we have a list of interesting stuff here. So we have a list of our breakpoints. We can set breakpoints on exceptions if we want to stop every time something wrong happens. We can stop on lots of things, but the interesting thing is our index.php here. Let's close that. The call stack, well, here we only have one file, but if this file was calling a function that was calling a function and so on, we would have the call stack here. Maybe I can do a quick example after that. Watch is going to be variables that you want to, well, watch, hence the name. They will stay there, and their value will be updated each time we move. And we also have here the variables, where we can have the local variables in PHP and what PHP calls the super globals. So those are the $_ variables. If you have done any PHP environment, you know what that means. If not, well, you will soon discover that you have to use those variables. Most interesting variables in there are probably the request one, which is going to be, it's going to hold the values of the URL. Maybe I can show that after that. So here we're here. We're stopped here. And if we have a look at this, that's the interesting part. Our variable is not initialized. Well, yeah, because we haven't executed this line yet. So we can come over to this small widget here, and we have continue, step over, step into, step out, and restart and stop. Well, continue will do exactly what it says. If I press that, then the app goes finishes, and we have our results here. Let's do that again because it's fun. Step over will go from this line to the next line, or to the next executed line. So if there's a test, for example, then it will be evaluated, and then we will jump to the next execution line. So let's do this. And then you can see here, it has updated the value of the local variable. So I is now 0. Okay. And if we keep stepping over, we can see our program running, and then the I variable is being incremented until we reach 10. So I just don't want to miss it. And now I is 10. And we are out of this while loop. And we're back to the HTML part. So that's how you debug in PHP with Xdebug. Maybe I can just do that function if equal hello, and then maybe we can call if here and set the breakpoint inside here. Right here, you can see the breakpoint is not a red dot; it's a gray circle. It means you have added code that the debugger cannot see because the debugger was started before the code existed. So we need to come here on this widget here and hit restart. And now the breakpoint is set. We can go back to our Firefox, refresh that, and we are in the function. And you can see here the call stack. So it says you're here in F, and you have been called from this function. And like that, you can go back the call stack, and because the problem, if there's a problem in this function, maybe it comes from 2 or 3 calls above. So lots of chat. I don't have a chat widget for StreamYard, so I can't put the chat on the screen. But on Twitch, CFilms says I do PHP and like PHP. Yes, me too. I like PHP. Although I fell in love with Flutter lately, but PHP is still a great language for me. Hello, Eric on Twitch. How are you? CFilms adds on Twitch. When I use PHP, I am a pretty happy person. Oh, nice. Nice. Very good. Very good. Eric says last time I used PHP was in 2005. It's been a while. Yes. Well, a lot changed in PHP since 2005, and a lot changed in the latest version of PHP 8, which is now very, very interesting. I need to get into that once I am done with my Flutter adventures. Right, let's go back to this. So we have now a complete environment for PHP. So we have the extensions, we have VS Code, we have Nginx. Go back to a stream 2 weeks ago, configured, and we have the debugger configured also. So we are pretty much on the right track now to develop and debug in PHP. So let's have a look at the front-end part, if I can use that term, which is going to be an Angular app. And hopefully, I see it's already been 20 minutes, but if we have time, we're going to try and bridge both of those apps. Okay, so let's quit Visual Studio Code for now. If we refresh now, we have our app, and because Visual Studio Code is closed, there's no more breakpoints, and so we can use the app absolutely without problem. CFilms asks on Twitch, have you used XAMPP? No, I haven't used XAMPP or XAMPP, which is what does it stand for? What's the X for? I knew LAMP, which was Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, but XAMPP, I haven't used XAMPP, no. Fancy, yes. I don't know what was fancy, but everything is fancy with VS Code anyways, so. Basically, everyone that worked full stack with PHP as backend loves Flutter. Oh, I didn't know that, but it's true. I do love Flutter. X is cross-platform. So XAMPP is a free and open source cross-platform web server solution stack package developed by Apache friends, consisting mainly of the Apache HTTP server, MariaDB database, and interpreter for scripts written in the PHP and Perl programming languages. Wow, okay. So a full package then. Okay, let's move to the Angular part of things. I'm going to cheat a little because one of the things Node developers know and non-Node developers might not know is that as soon as you start doing some stuff with Node and NPM, it kind of downloads half of the internet on your machine. So when I did the prep for this stream, I just wanted to rehearse and write down the commands and replay them on stream, but that would be very, very long. So I'm just going to show you the commands, and they are going to be very fast because I already have everything. So what do we need to do some Angular development? Well, we need Node.js and NPM. So the first thing we need to do, sudo apt install Node.js npm. Nothing to do because I already have everything. Also, when you do that, you get npm 752 as shown on screen, and the latest version of npm is 724. Even though 7.5 it works pretty well, every time you're going to install a package, it's going to nag you and say, well, you need to install, you need to upgrade. So either you wait for the new version, or you can do sudo npm install -g npm at 7.24.0. And that's going to replace your npm install with the latest one. Problem is, apt doesn't know you've done that. So apt still says, as you can see here, apt still thinks you've got 752, and if 7.6 or 7.7 or any version between 7.5 and 7.24 is released as a package, you might end up with going back in version. So Eric says on Twitch, another reason I like using containers for development, I can pollute them with all sorts of dependencies and simply wipe them out later when done. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is something that I'm slowly beginning to understand thanks to some streams on Twitch and some workshops that I have followed. I'm not going to do any publicity for anyone, but you know who I'm talking about if you're following the same people as me. Yes, Monica says on Twitch, we are learning a lot about containers lately too. Indeed. Raphael says, I really like Flutter, but dislike PHP with passion on YouTube. Well, there's something for everybody. And Monica reminds everyone on YouTube that this week's desktop Indaba will be all about Flutter. Yes, I am going to try and make it to this Indaba. Okay, so we have installed Node.js and Node.js, and we have upgraded npm. Now we need to install Angular. I'm going to show you the website for Angular. So that's angular.io. And if you have never done any Angular in your life, then I strongly suggest you go there. You go to this part, getting started, setup. That will show you the command line to use to install the command line interface to Angular. And then go straight to tutorials, tour of heroes. And once you're done, once you get to number 6, you will have the basics for an app that is it's not going to be the ultimate app, but you will see a lot of the concept in Angular, and it's really well made. I've done that a couple of times, and that's where I come back every time when I write an Angular app, because it has everything and it's simple. And then once you see that, and it reminds you of how things are done, and really a great resource. So let's go back to the setup. And as we have seen, Angular is in fact a command line interface, mainly to create stuff. So we're going to copy that, and we're going to go back here, and we're going to paste that. And because it's a global install, that's the -G flag here, you need to use sudo to do that and install CLI as a system-wide tool. I have already done that, because after npm downloads half of the internet, then Angular will download the other half of the internet. So we need to go a little bit quicker than that in this stream. So we have installed our CLI command line interface for Angular. And if we go back to the documentation, they say create a workspace and initial application. So we need to type ng new my app. Well, I have already done that, but I'm going to move in the Ubuntu on Air demo, and I'm going to move that away. So ng for Angular, don't ask. That's ng for Angular, because I guess when they created Angular, it was like next gen something, and so they kept ng for Angular. ng new my app. So let's do ng new Ubuntu on Air, and it's going to ask me a few questions. Would you like to add Angular routing, depending on where you are in the world? Potato, potato. Yes, I want that. If you don't know what routing is, it's a module of Angular that will allow you to say when the user uses the /main or /form or /whatever URL in my app, then show this component. So it does that automatically. Oh, I need to go back to the chat again. On Twitch, Stephen says, what is Flutter like? It's kind of HTML mixed with PyQt 5. If you've done any Python and Qt 5, the way you build widgets is that you embed them. So you have a layouts and widgets, and so you create a layout, add a widgets in them, and then widgets may have children. So you describe your UI like that, and it's kind of like CSS, HTML, as in it has the same concept to define the background colors or the borders or the font size and stuff like that. But as Monica said, if you want to see some Flutter, you can always have a look at my Twitch channel. I will let Monica decide if she wants to put a link or not in the chat. Eric says on Twitch, I'm mostly building wrappers on top of web frameworks via R and a little Python, but learning JavaScript is next on my dev list. Yes, JavaScript is great. The problem with JavaScript is that it will let you do pretty much anything, so you need to be very disciplined when you write JavaScript. Monica says on Twitch, our monthly Indaba is here, and you can ask about how we'll use Flutter in our new installer. We'll also be streaming here on YouTube. So 1700 UTC, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Good evening, Geo, on YouTube. Gorian says, man, all of this CLI stuff, Ubuntu server stream when? Well, that's a good idea. I can get that on the list. Weird first stream to tune in. I worked with PHP in the past and disliked it quite a bit, and Angular, I am just bred to dislike it as a React dev. Well, I don't think you need to dislike Angular because you're a React dev. I find them both very different, and probably they serve different purposes. So, yeah, I don't think you have to dislike one if you like the other. Hello, Danny. Watching quietly, but messing with Kubernetes. That's great. You need to come on this stream and do a tutorial about Kubernetes because I don't know squat about Kubernetes and I'd like to learn. So, Raphael says on YouTube, I can recommend VS Code, Docker Compose, and developer containers inside VS for development. You basically open folder with projects and install everything. Yes, the container extension for VS Code is great. Almost as great as the WSL one, or actually as great as the WSL one. Right. So next question: will you use CSS as CSS or less? It's really a question of preferences. It doesn't matter for this demo, but I usually use less. And then it's going to once again install a few packages via npm. So let's do that. Let's wait for this to be done. Eric says on Twitch, this is exactly what I use my R project in what I use for my R projects in VS Code. Yes, the container extension. C Films adds on Twitch, React has some similarities to PHP because React was created by Facebook. Facebook was originally created with PHP. Well, yes, Facebook did a lot of things. They used a lot of things. They released those things in open source, and then they dropped them and used something else. But yeah, it's React is not bad. I personally don't really like the GS6. Is that the extension? The fact that you mix the HTML with the language, but I kind of got used to it. I mean, it's just another language, really. You just need to get used to the instructions, the structures of the language. WSL is my favorite Windows feature. Yes, I agree. If we could remove everything else and just keep WSL, that would be nice. Although I am really impressed at how it integrates well with Windows, like ports forwarding. Like you can run the server in WSL and you don't have anything to do, and the server is visible from the Windows side of the things. So it's great. Right. Yeah, well, it's going to complain about Git because I haven't configured Git, but it's okay. What it does, it's if you have Git configured, the creation of the app will do an initial commit on your on this Git repository because it does create everything for you. So let's now go inside our app that we have called Ubuntu on Air, and we have a few files here. Let's open VS Code. And to do Angular development in Visual Studio, you really need only one extension. You can add a lot of other extension if you want for your quality of life, but the only one you need is this one, the Angular language service. I've already installed that previously, but that's pretty much the only one you need. And all the useful extensions we installed last time, like the bracket percolorizer, the material icon theme, the Ubuntu VS Code theme, or you can also install the Yaru VS Code theme, which is also awesome. Let's do that. And we're going to use the Yaru Dark theme. See, we now have a really nice shade of red here. So let's do that. Monica on Twitch says the WSL is favorite Windows features only second to Clippy. Well, I guess Clippy is really missed. I don't know where it went. Maybe it's a stray now. It's walking alongside the road under the rain and nobody stops. Poor Clippy. Anyway, let's go back to our subject here. So we have installed Angular, right? And where's the documentation? It's there. And it says run the app, cd my app. So that's we've done that. And then ngserve -- open. Let's try that. We can try that straight within VS Code. So let's try ng serve -- open. And that should open our default web browser, which is Firefox. And we are going to observe a nice feature of Angular. That's the live reload. Although I have to say the Flutter live reload is even more awesome. Is it more awesome or awesomer? I don't know. It's more awesomer. So that's the default app that has been generated. It doesn't do much, but it links to some documentation, and it tells us that we can generate components, which we're not going to do tonight, but it's all in the documentation. And I'm going to go straight to this file here, which you're going to have to learn by looking at the documentation. But let's have a look. Let's look for this sentence here, this phrase, next steps. Okay. And just change that to my next steps. I'm going to save this, Ctrl S, and ping, it has reloaded automatically. So you don't have to wait or press F5 or do things like that. It will automatically do that for you. On Twitch, C-Films says React was created by Jordan Walk, a software engineer at Facebook who released an early prototype of React called Fax.js. He was influenced by XHP, an HTML component library for PHP. Without PHP, would there have been React? Well, without C, would we have PHP? You know, we can go back a long way for that. I don't know if we need to look for those origins, but we have a lot of languages. Some of them are very specific, like the R language, which is really oriented for data science. So some languages are better at some tasks than others, but I'm sure you can do data analysis with PHP. It's probably not going to be as easy or as powerful as what R does, but probably can do that. Right. What we wanted to do is have the Angular part called our PHP part. So to do that, I'm going to have to cheat once again and have a look at a program I have made elsewhere. And I'm going to go very, very fast and add some code. The point here is not to teach you how to program a service and an HTML endpoint in Angular, but just to have the code run so that we can connect our Angular and PHP part of this two-part app. We're going to go there. That's the app component. Yes, that's what I want. And oh, no, I want the module first because I need to add something in there. So the module is kind of where you declare every other module you need for your application. So we're going to import something that is called the HTTP client module. And we're going to import that from Angular /common/HTTP. And we need to import it here. Okay, That's done. We need to go to the component.typescript thingy. And we need to add a few things in there. So our component here needs to implement on init, and we're going to control space that so that it is auto imported. That's what the Angular extension to VS Code does. It helps us by auto importing stuff. We need to add a constructor to this function, and we're going to have a private data service, and it's going to be a data service. That's the name of the variable we're declaring, and that's the type of the variable. That doesn't exist just yet, but that's just a question of time. And what we need to do with the onInit interface is to implement the ng onInit function. That is going to be executed once when the component is initialized. And we're going to call this the data service get data. And we're going to subscribe here. So quickly, this will be an asynchronous call. So get data will return, but it won't have finished the work. So what we're doing here is say, okay, we know this is going to be an asynchronous function. When that's done, do that. So what that will be is we're going to console.log that data that we get back from a web service. Okay, so lots of problem here. First one is that data service doesn't exist. How do we create a service? We have a function in Angular for that. We're going to use ng as Angular. Generate service, and it's going to be the data service. So just say data, and it will add automatically service after that. And I need to speed up a little because it's already been 45 minutes. Right, so it's created data service specs, which we really don't care about, but data.service.typescript, which is something we need. And we can have a look at that. There it is. It has created something that is really empty for now. But what's wrong here? There's something wrong with the component and with the module. Why? App component. Because this one doesn't compile, so app module doesn't compile. Okay, we have created data service. That's the class here, data service. We just need to come back to the component, come back here and control space at the end of that. And that doesn't work. Great. It's always the demo effect. Data service, yes. Okay, so app component. What does it say? The class app component is listed in declaration, but is not a directive, a component or a pipe. It was when I rehost. Why doesn't it want to import that? Import data service. Okay. Well. Oh. Yeah. It would help if I could write properly. I'm sure someone screamed in the chat, but I didn't watch. So that's data service, and I control space, it finds it, and everything works just fine. So this is a Angular declaration that says, okay, this class here, this function will take an argument, which is a data service. And in fact, it's going to be auto-injected by Angular. So Angular does all the wiring inside and knows that this function needs a data service and will build the data service and pass the data service whenever we need this component. So you don't have anything to do. Again, something that you will learn in the documentation. That's not the point for tonight. Tonight we need to quickly get to the point where we can call our function, our PHP web service. So if I now go to this is my notes, and we need to define, yes, we need to define this get data function. Okay, so get data. This doesn't take any arguments, and this is an observable of, let's say, string. Let's say our web service is going to return a string, just one. Okay, and we're going to return this .http.get string, and we're going to call http : and we're going to go back to here. Our PHP thing, it's here. Go back to code. It did put the HTTP. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. That's frustrating. Demo.php, right? And we also need to inject our HTTP client. So that's pretty much it. Subscribe. That's much better. And now we should have an app that is compiling properly. Yes, compiled successfully, but it's not going to run because we're going to have a problem. Let's go to the console, okay, and refresh this. And here we have our last problem that we need to solve before we have a complete environment. That's the cross-origin problem. Why? Because we're on localhost port 4200, and we are trying to access here UbuntuOnAir.loc/demo. So that's really port 80. So what we can do is this UbuntuOnAir.loc on port 4002, and Angular doesn't like that because we haven't told Angular that it can be accessed on this port. So we can't really do this thing. What we need to do is tell Nginx that it's okay for a request that doesn't come from UbuntuOnAir.loc on port 80 to access the PHP part of our application. So now we are in the gray area because this is something that I always mess up. I usually need a few tries before I manage to do that, and that's the part I was not able to rehearse tonight. So let's go. It's live. We're live. We're doing stuff live on stream without any prep, which is actually the way to do things, I believe. CD, etc, Nginx, sites enabled. Okay, everybody cross your fingers, hairs, nose, eyes, whatever you want to cross. And let's hope I know what I'm doing, which is highly improbable, but anyway. Oh, I already had something here. Let's pretend that was not here. And anyway, it didn't seem to be working anyway. So, Firefox says cross-origin request blocked. The same origin policy disallows reading the remote resource UbuntuOnAir.loc/demo.php. Reason: course header access control allow origin missing. I think if we go to the network, there used to be it used to show the pre-flight request, but I think I have read somewhere that now it doesn't anymore. The pre-flight request is something, it's the options call. So the browser will send an option request, says, okay, can I access this thing? And we'll see if the header is set, and if it is set, if it is allowed to do this request, then it will do the get. But I think now it only shows the get. And I think I remember that. So we need to try and fix this, which is the part I don't really know how to do just out of the top of my head. So I'm going to have a look at some config I have on my machine that says that I probably need something like that here, but I am absolutely not sure. Location slash if request method equals options, and return 204, and then add header access control allow origin star. So we allow access from anywhere. And I think this second one is also needed. Access control allow methods post get put options. We don't need patch and delete for this example, but that's a good thing to do. And that might be enough for that, but we also need to add that here, I think. And cross our fingers. And now sudo systemctl start nginx. Go. And let's see. Let's go to Firefox and do that. Go to the console. It did not work. That's the hard part. Error targets this trusted header message. HTTP failure response from the unknown error. Unknown error. Request did not succeed. It's not the same. It said request did not succeed. Yes, of course, request did not succeed. That means it succeeded. Ha! Because we don't have a demo.php file in our PHP part of the app. Let's add that. cd var www Ubuntu on Air. Let's run another Visual Studio instance. And we need a demo.php that returns a string. So let's try and do that. Oh, why are the fonts too small on this one? Are they too small or are they the same as the other one? I don't know. And now it's stuck. What? Okay. So let's create a demo.php. Let me know if that's too small. I can make that bigger. And we're going to do echo hello demo. Okay, let's have a look if that even exists. So Ubuntu on air.log/demo.php doesn't work. HTTPS? No, not HTTPS. HTTP. Stop being a pain in the backside Firefox. Why are you doing this to me? So why is this one working and not this one? Well, let's see. What does this one says now? It didn't work. It did not work. I am lost now. So that didn't work. Why? Is it the HTTPS problem? If someone has an idea, then I'm all ears, because Ubuntu on air.log /PHP. Able to resolve address. Ubuntu on air. Connection failed. What? Nginx.ht. Nginx didn't start. Okay. Invalid number of arguments in add header directive on Nginx line 20. We're making progress. Sudo yeah, etc Nginx site enable Ubuntu on air at line 20. Sudo systemctl restart Nginx. Status Nginx. It is running. Okay, so now is this working? It is working. Is this one working? It kind of did. Failure parsing that. Yes. So it did work. But probably I didn't return what Angular expected. But it did work. We got to the PHP part. If we go to the network, then here, and the response was, hello demo. Yeehaw. Well, I have 1 minute left. I suspect Angular wants some JSON. So let's give Angular some JSON. Let's do this. No, it wants a string. I don't know. Well, this stream was setting up the environment so that Angular and PHP can talk to each other. Now they talk to each other, they just don't agree with each other. But I think we can leave it at that for tonight. We have everything in place. So let's do a quick recap of what we did tonight. On the PHP side, we installed Xdebug, which allows us to place breakpoints and inspect our code, inspect the variables, see where we are in the call stack, add some watch to see the value of those variables, and so on. On the Angular side, we did install Node.js. We did install, let me find my OBS back and switch scene again. We did install Node.js. We did install NPM. We installed Angular, the command line interface. We created a default app. Then I quickly went in the code and added what is needed for Angular to do an HTTP asynchronous call to a web service. We did write the web service, although we wrote that at the end, but we ended up writing it. We changed the configuration in Nginx so that an app on the local host domain on port 4200 can actually make a request to an app, a web app, a web service that is running on UbuntuOnAir.loc domain on port 80 with the option request and the headers that are needed for the cores, the cross origin request something that is the protection, that is something that is in place so that you as the developer of the web service says, okay, I allow this domain or maybe this port or to access the web service using only this method. And maybe you can also do that on a particular folder or file. And then we saw that Angular got the data from PHP and was trying to do something with it, but I probably messed something up somewhere and it just didn't understand what PHP was saying. But we now have everything in place, because if we write a service in Angular that calls something in PHP, then it's going to execute the PHP code. We can place breakpoint in there and see what the backend is doing, what kind of data it's returning to the front end. And then on the front end, we have other tools like the, just printing the brothers consoles. That's pretty much what we have there. We can use the debugger also, I think, from Firefox. If I can find my Firefox back. And put that on the big screen. And if we go to, where can we go to do that? Doesn't Firefox have a source folder? Oh, debugger here. So there we go. And if we go to the main.js, where will I find my module? Here, I think src app. And then my data service, for example, and I can set a breakpoint here. And if I refresh that, it's going to hit the breakpoint and I can do my debugging with those tools here. And you can see that they strangely resemble the ones in VS Code. So you can do the debugging here. You can do the debugging on the back end. You don't see anything because I haven't switched the scene. Yeah, rookie mistake. So let me show you again. Here on Firefox, you have the debugger tab, and you can go to your file, place a breakpoint here, refresh, and it will hit the breakpoint. And you have here the little widget gizmos that will allow you to navigate your code. So we have everything in place. We can now start working on an app with an Angular front end and a PHP backend, which is something we're going to do in 2 weeks in part 3 of this two-parter. Well, I thought we could do the configuration in one stream, but we couldn't. So there's gonna be a part 3 where we're going to start writing a very simple app. I'm going to try and do my best to explain the concepts, and it's going to be really easy, like a form, like maybe a to-do or something, where you can add a to-do and it sends a request to the PHP backend, and we'll have a look at using the PHP dependency injector. We're going to have a look at using the Slim framework on the PHP side of things. Maybe Midu if we want to store stuff in a database, and display that information on the web app. So I'm already 5 minutes overdue. So thank you everyone for joining this Ubuntu on Air stream, the community stream from myself, and we are now 2 community streamers. I guess Monica sent a call for more community streamers. So get in touch with Monica if you want to have a slot on the Ubuntu on Air channel to do some community streams. And that's it for today, unless you guys have questions in the chat on YouTube or Twitch. I am going to wait for a few minutes to see if someone has questions. I will be back in 2 weeks on the UntitledChapter channel. Monica did post the link to my Twitch channel, where I currently do Flutter development. So if you want to join me, you are very welcome. Find Monica on the Ubuntu discourse or in our next, on Monica's next stream. I guess if you're already following those channels, Twitch and YouTube for Ubuntu OnAir, you know where to find Monica. Well, I don't see any questions, so I am going to end this stream. Thank you, everyone. See you in 2 weeks. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.